There's nothing left for you to do here, Isel Mazard. You've escalated kids playing in the mud to essentially saying sex workers and people who perform abortions are bad people. She's aware that she's lying. She knows it's a lie. She doesn't claim I said that. She doesn't quote me. Well, you're essentially saying that. Uh-huh. Stop acting like you're innocent. Leanne, at this point, are you so furious that you're unaware that you're lying? By the way, I'm certainly willing to imagine that she's forgotten that just a few minutes ago this was a lie she made up herself quite intentionally. Do you think you're going to succeed in misrepresenting me as anti-abortion and anti-sex worker so that you can lead an angry crowd of leftists against me? Vivian continues the attack. He needs to be removed from this group. His previous posts and comments have been extremely offensive and is making everyone uncomfortable. This is not what we want in the group or in the community. Now, I just note that she names the apartment building there, and I've blacked it out. This is not the only message calling for me to actually be kicked out of the building, for me to be kicked out of my home, lose my apartment, lose my furniture. On the basis of what exactly? First of all, Leanne is not a liar. No one is misrepresenting you. You literally wrote on your own post that you think sex workers and abortion doctors are bad people. You notice the shift? You notice how the lie, you see how it becomes unquestioned? So at an earlier stage, it was just, at the very first stage, it was just, I have no idea what he's trying to say here. Then the second stage was, well, he's essentially saying something bad. Right? But they were aware it was a lie. And now it's been forgotten that it was a lie, right? They've lost track of what the truth is. You literally said this. Literally. Oh, and you think...
Has everyone forgotten what literally means?
I know what you're thinking. You're clicking on this video and you're expecting it to be a redeeming, uplifting story about human nature. You think, you know what? The last two videos showed the ugly, combative, cruel side of human nature. But now in this third video, things are really going to turn around. All these people are over 30 years old. They're all able to afford $1,800 a month in rent. This must be a very erudite, mature, dispute between people who even if they lost their tempers for just one day, the next day would turn around and try to mend fences, build bridges, reconcile, and move on. You know what? You will be disappointed. This part of the story I'm just going to skip over briefly because it was already covered in the earlier videos. I think it is clear in this comment from Tyson that he has extensively Google searched my name when he's saying, oh, there are all these terrible things about you going back to 2008.
I mean, I could say when I first read that, I genuinely laughed and I said, no, you are here to dredge up things.
That's true.
I'm not here to dredge up all the shitty stuff.
That's precisely
precisely what you're doing.
Right. And then he faded. He disappeared. I assume he blocked me on Facebook because he disappeared and didn't participate in the conversation after this very early but very turbulent stage, right? Yeah. Now, what I'm saying to various people, and not everyone was crazy. Not everyone was, but a lot of them were. It's like, look, a lot of people sent me these insulting, hostile messages. I didn't ask anyone to apologize. I didn't get angry in response. I made a genuinely upbeat, positive video, 4 minutes long, trying to clear up the misunderstanding. I had good intentions, was trying to do the right thing, just because it was the right thing to do. You should be able to see a contrast between what I wrote and what people like Tyson and Ian said to me, and many others who jumped on the bandwagon. So here's Tyson just wanting to defend himself. You can read every word of this you want to. Tyson just doubles down, and then he more or less disappears from the ensuing conversation. Other people jumped on the bandwagon, and what a bandwagon it was. I had a conversation with the building management that you were about to hear in full, and then I wrote this text post. After speaking to management about the conflict, 1, everyone in this group needs to recognize nothing will get better unless you make a positive effort to make it better. 2, as little as you may want to admit it to yourself, I actually was trying to resolve the conflict again and again in a friendly way. You've convinced yourselves that I have bad intentions, even when the content of what I'm saying is very clearly positive, and when I'm responding to an avalanche of really insulting hate mail that nobody has apologized for. I've spoken to management. I'm willing to speak to any of you one-on-one to resolve this conflict. As people say, bury the hatchet. Nobody has made this offer to me. Nobody has reached out to make this situation better. Instead, they've continued to make really serious attacks on my character. You can read the whole message if you want to. I'm going to skip ahead to the conclusion, but trust me, it is full of platitudes of this kind. What is to be gained for anyone in escalating this conflict endlessly? Everybody else is just throwing me hate mail, insults, character attacks, defamation, and I'm responding in this positive, constructive way if anyone else can appreciate it and build on it. This is an example of an incredibly trivial conflict that has snowballed out of control for no good reason. You may feel insulted by that video, but if you listen to it, all 4 minutes long, you're going to find that there isn't a single insult in it. I was genuinely trying to clear up the misunderstanding and trying to have an affable, joking tone of voice in calming everyone down, showing that I wasn't personally angry or resentful. This didn't have to be a big deal, etc. Through really mean-spirited attacks on my character, this has now become a big deal. This isn't about the lawn or the mud. How do you expect me to use the gym at the same time as people who've said these things to me that Ian, Tyson, Lauren, and others have said? Again, if you think it is so despicable for me to be a YouTuber, or for me to be a former scholar of Buddhism, or for me to have done humanitarian work or anything else, please keep in mind, some of your neighbors, some, will be strippers, sex workers, abortion doctors, mercenaries, or will have other controversial jobs. And even if you morally disapprove of the choices they've made, you must treat them with more dignity and respect than I've been shown here. Oh, and this is the start of a new lie. It's just, they ran out of things to hate me for. They ran out of things to blame me for, and they latched onto that last sentence and decided to create a whole new lie to demonize me and try to lead a left-wing hate mob against me. You can read the whole thing if you want to. At the end, underlined in red, please stop comparing abortion doctors, sex workers, and strippers to mercenaries. Brilliant ploy. Cicero would be proud of the use of logic and reasoning here. And I mean, you can imagine how unconvincing this would be to anyone who had read not only the intent, but the wording of what I just said. But nevertheless, this was enough to, well, you'll see what happens. Is there something wrong with sex workers and abortion doctors? I'm also baffled by that comment. And my reply, I don't insult them back. I don't get angry. I say, is this a situation in which you're asking me what my views on sex workers or abortion are? Is this a situation in which you're actually confused about what I said and are interested in hearing me express myself more clearly? Or are you just looking for an excuse to further condemn me as a bad person? Talk to me in direct messages. The message says that I'm actually trying to solve the problem, address people's concerns, and set things on a good footing for the future. Make a little bit of positive effort in return instead of just expressing exasperation and disapproval for something you say you don't understand. If you asked me this, or were willing to talk to me about what I mean or what I meant, do you think I'd be unwilling to answer you or unhelpful? You all need to stop bandwagoning and treating this situation as if expressing your moral superiority over me is going to improve the situation or solve an imaginary problem. Yes, I did indeed resort to including this meme with my reply. There's nothing left for you to do here, Eisel Mazard. You've escalated kids playing in the mud to essentially saying sex workers and people who perform abortions are bad people. She's aware that she's lying. She knows it's a lie. She doesn't claim I said that. She doesn't quote me. Well, you're essentially saying that. Uh-huh. Stop acting like you're innocent. Stop acting like you're innocent. How would you like me to act in this situation? Can you think about if our positions were reversed? How you would behave? Like, oh, you prefer if I insulted you back? Stop acting like you're innocent and stop trying to mine us for data on your YouTube channel. Perhaps you should stick to Reddit with the rest of the trolls, as if what Leanne here is doing couldn't be interpreted as trolling, eh? Leanne, at this point, are you so furious that you're unaware that you're lying? By the way, I'm certainly willing to imagine that she's forgotten that just a few minutes ago this was a lie she made up herself quite intentionally. Do you think you're going to succeed in misrepresenting me as anti-abortion and anti-sex worker so that you can lead an angry crowd of leftists against me? Every sentence of this short statement from Leanne misrepresents what I said and what happened in this uneventful turn of events to an astounding extent. But yeah, my actual political positions on abortion, feminism, etc. are on the public record. Look, Leanne, I'm going to ask management to step in because I've really tried to be reasonable and friendly with you to resolve this tiny conflict that you keep escalating, and this is how you continue to treat me. Does it not occur to you that if I were hypothetically anti-abortion, you'd still need to treat me with more respect and dignity than this, just as your neighbor sharing the same gym with you? One of the viewers of the channel wrote in to ask what I thought was a good question. He said, look, you're making all this effort to be reasonable with these people. Do you really expect them to be reasonable in reply? And if not, what is there to win here? It's a difficult question we have to ask ourselves, but I can't let myself have such low expectations of other people's personal integrity that I start to compromise my personal integrity just to talk to them on their level, right? Like, I'm going to continue having this discourse about doing the right thing just because it's the right thing to do. And if nobody else is interested in doing the right thing, then I'm just going to do the right thing alone. And if me doing the right thing is misinterpreted by everyone else in the equation and not appreciated, that's fine, because my commitment is to my personal integrity, to my morality. It's not to entertaining the crowd. So now someone called Melissa writes in. I don't even know who this could possibly be. Someone staying in the same building called Melissa says, "You don't speak for everyone in the building. I am at least one person with a dissenting opinion." And there were a few others. People who talked to me privately and a couple people who've posted things publicly. But this was obviously such a vile conflict that anyone else who was reasonable just didn't want to run afoul of this, mob that had been whipped up and was chasing after me with pitchforks at this point. If this is about discomfort, I feel uncomfortable knowing that the people in this building have been so eager to make assumptions and say hurtful things about their neighbor here in this forum, especially when we all live in the same building, use the same facilities on a daily basis, when we have to see each other in person. Nobody has asked Eisel directly to leave the group. Very few people spoke to me directly.
Yeah.
It's thoroughly just like, speaking of, this guy's a terrible person. Who are you talking to? I'm right here. Look, why not talk to me? You think I won't answer? You think we can't talk it out? Nobody's asked Eisel directly to leave the group. When I said I'd be willing to, it's a Facebook group. I can leave voluntarily, guys. You intentionally missed the point of his now deleted text post and misrepresented what he said to make him out to be a bad guy. Now you've posted this with the intent of turning this into a witch hunt. Looks like others are jumping on the bandwagon, but I will post this to be one dissenting voice here. Meanwhile, I did reach out to people privately. I did try to write to them through Facebook's own private messaging or direct messaging system, whatever you want to call it. I wrote to Leanne and said, if you actually want to talk to me about any of this stuff, just speak to me in an open-ended, constructive way. Everyone else in the situation was just escalating the conflict. I was making a positive effort to de-escalate it, and I still am. In good faith, as they say. Now, you can read for yourself just how vicious, malicious, and vitriolic this statement with the yellow border is from Leanne. But I want to point out, I did not respond in kind. This is someone who isn't just calling me misogynistic and cursing at me and saying that they hate me and saying that they all hate me. It's saying expressly that everyone in the building or everyone in this forum hates me, right? But I'm not going to sink to her level. I'm not going to respond in kind. So I quoted this back to her in direct message, what you see with the yellow border. I quoted that back, and I said to her, regarding your claim that nobody has any malice, do you really think there's zero malice in that comment that I received from you, quoted above, Leanne? Do you really think that there's nothing for you to apologize for here? If I had said that to you or anything like it to you, how would you feel? And yes, I have screenshots of other people saying things that even more evidently show malice. It's quite an appropriate word in this situation. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Really think about how you'd feel if our positions were reversed. You know I can send you a whole stack of screenshots of you saying unforgivable things to me. And I never said anything of the kind to you. neither before nor after you insulted me. Right now, for you, what do you think is the right thing to do? Vivian continues the attack. He needs to be removed from this group. His previous posts and comments have been extremely offensive and is making everyone uncomfortable. This is not what we want in the group or in the community. Now, I just note that she names the apartment building there, and I've blacked it out. This is not the only message calling for me to actually be kicked out of the building, for me to be kicked out of my home, lose my apartment, lose my furniture. On the basis of what exactly? What is it I'm accused of again? Why is it nobody wants to spell out what it is I did wrong?
As though the moment somebody feels uncomfortable, they should be excommunicated from the entire building.
Right. And with no thought to the fact that I feel uncomfortable. We feel uncomfortable. You have all made me feel uncomfortable. If what I said in this group justifies me being kicked out of my home, all of you should be kicked out of your home much more. You're much more guilty of the same thing. And apparently,
she literally said that she hates you, and everybody in the group is uncomfortable.
Right.
Right.
I mean, if again, there isn't a single screenshot here of me saying something insulting. Like, I'm trying to be reasonable with people. But even if you found what I said insulting somehow, well, if that's the criterion, if that's all it takes to kick you out of your home, well, then all of you should be kicked out in the street tonight. You've been much more guilty of this than I have. Anyway, I'm responding to her here just saying, look, do you actually believe the claim that I'm anti-abortion? Do you actually believe that I'm anti-sex worker? Have you not even considered the possibility that this is an intentional lie, much in the same way that other members of the group lied to blacken my character? Now, conversely, if it were true, why couldn't you show some human decency here? And again, I'm saying I'm willing to listen. I'm trying to solve the problem. Stop attacking me publicly. Talk to me directly so we can set this on a better footing for the future. But of course, they just want to double down and be even more hostile and insulting towards me. First of all, Leanne is not a liar. No one is misrepresenting you. You literally wrote on your own post that you think sex workers and abortion doctors are bad people. You notice the shift? You notice how the lie, you see how it becomes unquestioned? So at an earlier stage, it was just, at the very first stage, it was just, I have no idea what he's trying to say here. Then the second stage was, well, he's essentially saying something bad, right? But they were aware it was a lie. And now it's been forgotten that it was a lie, right? They've lost track of what the truth is. You literally said this. Literally. Oh, and you think...
Has everyone forgotten what literally means?
Do you think I'm incapable of getting the message now and quoting to you literally what I actually said? Like, you think that's hard for me to do?
Yeah.
You think it's hard for me to give you a screenshot or prove exactly what I said? And what's going to happen next? So this is what I'm saying here. I try to take this in a positive direction. Say, no, that is a lie. Both Dylan and I have a copy of the original statement before it was posted to the group. It is completely untrue that the post said sex workers and abortion doctors are bad people. By the way, if you actually wanted to know my opinion, you could ask me. It's also on the internet. No, there's no interest about my opinion.
No, they don't have any interest in trying to have a conversation with you.
I can't even say it's a witch hunt, because you know what? Historically, witches really have existed. I mean, this is really mass hysteria on the smallest scale.
Mob violence.
Yes, yeah, and I wonder if I got to deal with these people face to face, I wonder how violent it's going to get. They say they're uncomfortable. Well, I'm uncomfortable going to the gym with you, Vivian. I'm uncomfortable having to face off with Vivian and Dana and Leanne, and you guys are probably going to be holding some heavy rubberized weights. You're going to be holding heavy objects when I'm with you in the gym. This is a really ugly conflict that they keep exacerbating. They keep making it worse and worse instead of trying to calm it down, instead of trying to come to some common understanding. But for my part, I keep doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. All right? So it is completely untrue that the post said sex workers and abortion doctors are bad people. The moment after it was deleted, people started making up this ludicrous lie. And tell me something. If I send you the original text showing exactly what I did say and what I didn't say, will you be willing to apologize to me? Will any of you be willing to apologize to me for saying something so mean-spirited, so defamatory, and so untrue? By their own moral compass, they must realize this is a really mean-spirited, really defamatory and untrue thing to say to somebody. Like, obviously, there are people for whom it's a very moral big deal that they're pro-abortion and pro-sex worker. So how would you feel if I'd said this about you and it was based on a lie, which you know I'm about to expose? You know I'm going to just quote, I'm going to give you a screenshot of what actually got said. So what's going to happen what's going to happen in the next step? Are you actually going to apologize? Are things going to get better, or is it just going to keep getting worse? You know? Simultaneously with this, I'm making a positive effort for the people who are willing to listen. Hi guys, nobody in this building has ever had a conversation with me or tried to get to know me, so I'm going to make a positive effort to introduce myself. This is just a completely friendly introduction to the group, and about 5 people were capable of responding to it positively and recognizing, that I know of. And then these negative messages continued from these few people, and I don't know how many people had blocked me or whatever the term is within Facebook, had clicked an option so they wouldn't see what I was posting at all after initially losing their temper in a split second. And they never saw that I kept on making these positive efforts to patch things up with my neighbors. So Vivian carries on her crusade here. You literally said those things are in post. Literally. You literally said those things are in post. I don't understand how we are being cruel to you, ? Stop acting you're the victim. This is ridiculous. I have the text of the post right here, Vivian. I am telling you as a matter of fact that can be very easily proven with screenshots that what you are saying is false. You are letting short-term emotions overwhelm you, and you are remembering something you did not in fact read at all. I wonder if anyone will take the lesson from this for the rest of their lives.
No, I think these people are going to go to their graves thinking that you were a terrible person and that this was a horrible inconvenience for them.
Oh, wait, no, but needless to say. Right. But do they look back at their lives and realize that they've done this to other people again? I'm not the only one. How many people has Vivian done this to? How many people has Allie done this to? All these other names, Leanne, right? I'm not the first person they did this to. And if they don't stop and reflect on it, I won't be the last either. I'm totally certain these are people who've engaged in this kind of mob mentality, probably against their friends and neighbors before, probably against their relatives or their cousins or something, probably against all kinds of people. I mean, it won't just be people they only know on the internet, because they have no shame doing this to someone where, look, I know where you live, you know where I live. You're willing to take it this far for nothing, where there's nothing to gain, against a complete stranger who never showed you any malice. I never insulted you. I never said one thing bad to you, and this is how far you're willing to take it? Well, sometimes people do lose their temper. Most people would respond to this kind of hostility with more hostility. Most people respond to these insults with more insults. So in your life, Vivian, in your life, Leanne, and so on, how many times did they take it this far in the past, if they look back? How many times did they remember someone saying something they didn't really say? Or remember someone writing something they didn't really write? There's a deep lesson for you to learn here. And then looking forward, what are you going to do? Probably these people have a whole long history of alienating and attacking people who never meant them any harm, of exactly this behavior. And they would go to their graves if they don't stop and really philosophize about it. They would go to their graves believing in those memories that are in fact completely false. They're just the product of a short-term emotional state. They're fabricating things to satisfy their own emotional needs. And I think that's a habit many people learn in childhood, and you've got to make the effort to get over it, Allie, I ask again because you didn't answer my question. If you read the text of the original post, will you be willing to admit that you were wrong and apologize? So you all know where this is going to go. I'm going to cut first to my own statement here, because I point out she ended the quotation mid-sentence. Let's hear that quotation again. Please keep in mind, some of your neighbors, some will be strippers, sex workers, abortion doctors, mercenaries, or will have other controversial jobs. And even if you morally disapprove of the choices they've made, you must treat them with more dignity and respect than I've been shown here, right? So the point is, you should treat sex workers with dignity and respect. You should treat abortion doctors with dignity and respect. You should even treat mercenaries with dignity and respect. I've known some mercenaries. Some of them are nice guys. It's a real job. It really exists, people. And what does Dana have to say? This is what she said before I posted that clarification. She knows she's lying. I think she knew she was lying before, but she certainly knows that she's lying now. She says this is the last time she's going to comment. She sets it all up. She tells us all how morally superior to me she is. And then what she has to say is, quote, some of your neighbors, some, oh, isn't that funny? She cut off the sentence midway. She didn't read the whole sentence. Hilariously, even that half a sentence, it's impossible to interpret it the way they're trying to interpret
It does not literally say that you think these people are bad people.
Not literally, not essentially. It does not say that at all. It doesn't hint on that in any way whatsoever. And yeah, Dana is acting like quitting this Facebook group means she never sees me again. See you in the garden. I'll see you in the barbecue pit. I'll see you at the gym. I'll see you in the mailroom. Like, what do you think? You want to do a mic drop and storm out being morally superior to me? What does that moral superiority get you? You know, I don't want to be morally superior. I want to solve the problem. I want to live in peace and harmony.
And there's not even anything in your sentence that compares them.
I know.
It's a list.
I know. And the point is, treat everyone with respect and dignity, even if you disagree with them.
Yeah.
That it's not implicit. Like, it's not confusing, right? So, like, it's almost impossible to disagree with, unless you're of the opinion you should, unless you're like a Christian preacher who thinks you should go around telling these people they're going to go to hell after they die or something, you know. So yes, the least controversial statement possible may result in me being kicked out of the building. We will see. All right. And no, does Leanne calm down, sober up the next morning? Does she try to patch it up and move on? Does she reflect on the error of her ways? Does she realize she's been instigating and making it worse? Of course not. She has to double down. I would just point out she's only getting 3 thumbs up at this point. She's whittled down the audience of people who are willing to go along with her. I think even people who aren't really paying attention have started to get the vibe that this is just not reasonable. Leanne says, I think the crazy thing is that he's calling me a liar for saying he was sending us unsolicited messages. Credit for the creative spelling of liar, by the way. I think that harkens back to an old English tradition. Very poetic. Great. After we simply asked a question, is there something wrong with sex workers and people who perform abortions? Nobody lied here. We're just over your negative outlook and putting people down. Yes, I'm the one putting people down. Could we go back to the comment briefly with the yellow border from Leanne? Right, Leanne, you've never put anyone down. I think you need to take a step back and see where we're all coming from. I'm certainly the one who's been unwilling to listen to the other side of this conversation. No, Leanne, this is also a lie. What I said very clearly and proved with quotations was that your claim that I'd said something insulting about sex workers was a lie. Absolutely nobody found that sequence of messages confusing. You've repeatedly misrepresented what I said in order to have a pretext to insult me further and escalate the conflict. Your statement about people who perform abortions here, again, is a lie, as was already shown in a separate thread of the discussion. The lack of goodwill and honesty is astonishing. Maybe we can practice doing the puppet show together.
Yes, that's all I needed. I need it all.